Marvel Spider-Man 2 was easily my most anticipated game of 2023. The excitement surrounding its launch was such that I dedicated myself to achieving the Platinum Trophy even while navigating the pressures of my LLB undergraduate examinations. This initial enthusiasm, however, stands in stark contrast to my later experiences. Subsequent replays have led to a feeling of the game being somewhat underwhelming. Despite this evolving perception, Marvel Spider-Man 2 maintains a permanent installation on my PlayStation 5. It is just always there on my home screen. The simple pleasure of swinging through its virtual cityscape, often set to the rhythm of a podcast or music, remains a compelling draw during moments of leisure. Having previously touched upon my complex feelings towards Marvel Spider-Man 2 in a brief video, I now aim to delve much deeper. In this comprehensive analysis, I intend to dissect the game's successful elements alongside its shortcomings, meticulously comparing its improvements and areas where it falls short of its predecessor. And crucially, I'll also be pinpointing the specific areas where I believe Insomniac Games has room for growth. So without any further delay, let's establish my love and hate relationship with Marvel Spider-Man 2.
I'm a spy. A spider spy.
While I find myself able to critique nearly every other facet of this game, its technical prowess remains undeniably impressive. Every time I step foot in Insomniac's rendition of New York City, I constantly find myself in a state of awe. Whether bathed in sunlight or shrouded in rain, this city's graphics are phenomenal. This city is a symphony of sights and sounds, and you sense it with every swing and glide. The level of detail in every corner, combined with the swelling and varied soundscape, creates an unbelievably immersive experience. You don't just see the city, you feel it. The hustle and bustle are palpable on the ground, while the elevated views offer a serene yet equally immersive natural aura. From these insanely high skyscrapers in the city, the draw distance is simply insane. The ability to see the entire game world stretching out before you is truly impressive. Furthermore, the sheer abundance and quality of particle effects in Marvel Spider-Man 2 contribute significantly to its immersive and visually breathtaking world. From the subtle yet persistent gusts of wind, realistically animating environmental elements, to the gentle cascade of flowing leaves that add a layer of organic dynamism, and even the way sunlight realistically glints and reflects off the myriad surfaces of the towering skyscrapers, the meticulous attention to these details creates a truly striking and believable virtual environment. Even though we are revisiting familiar territory, Insomniac has done enough to make the game feel substantially fresh. And we have to talk about the new boroughs, Queens and Brooklyn. I love how Brooklyn embodies a modern creative spirit, while Queens offers a more serene and homely vibe. These distinct additions make exploring the expanded city incredibly engaging, and it serves a very personal viewpoint in major story moments. Every second you spend in this game is photo-worthy, and the game embraces that, celebrates that. I've spent hours in this game's photo mode for a reason. That's not the full extent of Insomniac Games' technical brilliance. There's another striking layer to its technical prowess that makes it one of the most striking PS5 exclusive to date that fully take advantage of the hardware. Starting with the load times, which is of course insane. It was insane in Miles Morales as well. But the speed at which you can navigate this city is a technical marvel, no pun intended. From swinging across vast distances to instantly rocketing through wind tunnels, the game offers a level of fluidity I've rarely experienced elsewhere. Two pivotal narrative instances left me utterly astounded. Firstly, the seamless transition as Miles was propelled by Sandman across the entirety of the city without a single hiccup was remarkable. Secondly, the Black Cat mission, culminating in a traversal through portals to the unexpected locale of Antarctica, was equally mind-blowing. And let's not forget the unparalleled fast travel system. The fact that you can simply select any point on the map and instantly begin swinging from there is incredibly impressive and maintains the game's seamless flow, even though I hardly touched it because the swinging is so good. However, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. A significant disappointment is the underwhelming visual fidelity in performance mode, which controversially perhaps, I'd argue doesn't look as good as Miles Morales when played in performance mode. While performance mode struggles visually, switching to fidelity mode unveils a stunning level of graphical detail and richness. This opens the door for my point of why this game is focusing so much on cutting-edge tech like ray tracing, which is completely unnecessary considering how fast you are moving through this world. I think that power should have been more focused on things like resolution. According to Digital Foundry, this game in performance mode drops below 1080p. This leads to visuals looking noisy and grainy at times, and that is very noticeable. Speaking of noisy and grainy, let's talk about the faces of the characters. Oh my god, what were they thinking? Major character models in this game just look bad. Believe me, my issue isn't with the face models' inherent aesthetics. It's the grainy and waxy texture that makes them appear unnatural in this iteration. The grainy and waxy rendering of these character models creates a sense of unfamiliarity. I find myself struggling to recognize the characters I've come to know from previous titles. It's not universally flawed. Miles, for instance, looks great with his new hair. Harry, who looked very basic in the trailers, actually ended up looking really good. And Rio Morales, yeah, still a mommy. Speaking of mommy, very brief appearance, but black cats look great as well.
Little spider wants to play, huh?
The cutscenes maintain a notably impressive visual standard, particularly in the hyper-detailed rendering of the villains like Kraven and Venom, and the diverse Spider-Man suits.
Don't leave me hanging.
Trying to soak over here.
Not on my watch. Come on.
Hey folks, just a quick ask, if you're enjoying the video so far, would you consider subscribing? I'm trying really hard to get to 1000 subscribers and your support will mean a lot to me. Okay, back to the video. The sheer joy of swinging through Marvel Spider-Man 2 is so profound that deleting it from my PS5 is inconceivable. This traversal system isn't just good. It's the most viscerally satisfying gameplay loop I've ever had the pleasure of experiencing. I've lost myself for hours simply swinging through the city with music or podcasts on my backdrop. It's a testament to the captivating nature of the traversal. So the swinging in Marvel Spider-Man 2 builds upon the already stellar foundation from its predecessor. While retaining a sense of familiarity for returning players, the traversal presents a markedly different experience. This transformation is primarily due to the significantly enhanced speed at which players navigate the world, a sensation further amplified by the fluid and dynamic animations that have been meticulously integrated. The animations interwoven with every web sling in the game are so fluid and impactful that they invariably send a thrill down one's spine. Moreover, the developers have done a commendable job in distinctly differentiating the swinging styles of both Miles and Peter, a nuance that is genuinely palpable to the player. This aspect of their movement feels impressively fleshed out and contributes significantly to their individual identities. Beyond the more prominent features, the subtle mechanics integrated into the web swinging system deserve recognition. While the game doesn't mandate their utilization, these additions significantly enhance the dynamic feel and contribute to a sense of novelty in each traversal sequence. These mechanics include the visually striking loop-de-loop, the incredibly fluid corner tethers, the situational slingshot, and the tension-filled DualSense triggers. Although the loop-de-loop is aesthetically pleasing, its impact on speed seems minimal. However, the corner tether is a remarkable addition, introducing another layer of seamlessness to the swinging. Finally, while the slingshot is a neat feature, the fast-paced nature of gameplay often means actively seeking it out takes a backseat, and all of this beautifully culminates with how the DualSense reacts to all of it, specifically the tension of the triggers. Next, of course, we have to talk about the web wings, a pretty contentious addition based on what I've seen on the internet. Personally, I absolutely love it. It completely changes how you navigate through this city. It is an inevitable addition, considering we have lower areas like Queens in the game, but it still feels so natural. And the burst of speed with the wind tunnels, my god, chef's kiss. A truly exhilarating aspect of the web wings is their seamless integration with the updraft system. The sensation of effortlessly gliding into an updraft and experiencing that powerful surge of upward momentum propelling you high into the cityscape significantly contributes to the game's remarkably fluid and dynamic traversal. It transforms mere travel into an almost balletic dance through the urban landscape. The true beauty of the traversal system stems from the seamless integration of its various components: the stunning visual presentation, the rich auditory environment, and the player's unrestricted ability to combine and execute diverse maneuvers. Can we all recall the moment this game launched and social media was flooded with mesmerizing footage of synchronized music and cinematic swinging? Those were the days. Despite the generally exceptional traversal mechanics, certain aspects warrant critical attention. While the inclusion of a swing assist toggle is a commendable solution to many potential criticisms, issues persist in areas such as wall running, wall crawling, and other parkour maneuvers. These feel less like an evolution and more like a continuation, occasionally leading to moments of noticeable tedium that necessitate a significant overhaul. Furthermore, a major point of contention is the lack of weight and consequence in the swinging. The current system feels overly forgiving, and imbuing it with a greater sense of environmental impact and penalties for errors would be a welcome change. Finally, the continued absence of dynamic weather and time of day systems after 3 iterations is a perplexing oversight, as these features would undoubtedly enhance the game's immersive qualities. Ultimately, the sheer brilliance of the swinging mechanics in Marvel Spider-Man 2 cannot be overstated. It is this exceptionally polished and fluid system that serves as the bedrock for the game's incredibly compelling moment-to-moment gameplay, firmly cementing its place among the very best in this regard. Despite the generally favorable reception of Marvel Spider-Man 2's combat system, I personally find it lacking in engaging depth, often feeling bland and mindless. The encounters often devolve into a test of attrition against sheer numbers rather than a strategic engagement with deeply fleshed out mechanics. At a certain point, I would say about 10 to 12 hours into the game, the player's overwhelming power, coupled with the game's tendency to throw overwhelming webs of enemies, results in a combat experience that feels both tedious and uninspiring. The game certainly provides a plethora of combat options, stemming from the Iron Arm's diverse capabilities, Venom powers, an array of web gadgets, and impactful finishers. However, this abundance ultimately leads to a gameplay loop where one can effectively clear encounters by simply spamming abilities and mashing buttons. I must commend them for introducing a refreshing dynamic later in the game with the symbiote powers. This addition grants Peter access to viscerally impactful symbiote powers, while Miles benefits from more advanced iterations of his bioelectric Venom abilities.
Subdue the spider and retrieve Lee!
You're not taking him! And you're naive! They are ours!
Playing as Peter in particular feels exceptionally satisfying with the symbiote, as his new abilities and the accompanying stunningly cinematic symbiote vignettes truly elevate the experience. However, this engaging phase proves to be too brief. Despite the game's relatively short length, the combat still devolves into an incredibly tedious affair by the 2/3 mark. The fundamental issue lies in the limited evolution of the combat system, which despite some welcome additions over the previous 2 installments, largely remains familiar. A notable and truly impressive inclusion is the parry mechanic, which offers a highly satisfying experience when executed correctly and presents a genuinely challenging timing requirement, a feature that is particularly commendable. The parry system introduces significant depth, specifically during boss fights. Speaking of boss fights, it is within these confrontations that the combat truly shines, demanding focused attention and deliberate actions, a stark contrast to the button-mashing approach that often suffices when facing basic adversaries such as the Hunters. I do really like the skill trees though, and you can do meaningful improvements to the combat, which is really cool. Ultimately, the combat system in Marvel Spider-Man 2, despite its impressive aesthetic, the fluid animations and the impeccable finishes that offer a visceral reward, ultimately feels shallow in my opinion. While visually engaging, the actual substance of the combat encounters leaves much to be desired. And I mean it. This is a breathtaking combat to look at, and they have added so many finishers now, it keeps me on my toes. It is genuinely disappointing that the spectacle of large set-piece moments and the reliance on quick-time events frequently overshadow the newly implemented combat system, which should, by all accounts, be the central highlight of the combat experience. What do you think of my viewpoint on combat? Let me know in the comments. I'm really eager to read your opinions. Alright, let's delve into the specifics of the story. Just a heads up, for anyone listening, we're about to dissect some pretty significant plot points. So, spoiler alert. My biggest disappointment with Marvel Spider-Man 2, and this was truly unexpected given the narrative excellence of both the original game and Miles Morales, stems from its main story. If I had to distill it into a single stark statement, this is a story lacking heart. A quality that felt so abundant in the earlier two games. Remember how deeply we rooted for Peter in the first game as he painstakingly juggled his personal life, his demanding work, and his immense responsibilities as Spider-Man. Or the compelling underdog journey of Miles, where we felt every step of his growth and the weight of his newfound role. This story, unfortunately, feels devoid of that emotional core. It presents as a basic narrative, albeit one draped in a skin of incredibly high production value. Let's start at the top. The narrative of Marvel Spider-Man 2 kicks off very strong. Situated approximately 10 months after the events of the Miles Morales standalone title, the game immediately immerses the player in a chaotic and visually stunning boss fight against Sandman. While this encounter is designed to be an adrenaline-pumping introduction, the unfortunate truth is that this particular segment likely represents the highest point the game's narrative reaches. After that point, the narrative completely derails as the pacing grinds to a halt. I find it incredibly jarring how the game shoehorns side quests and collectibles into the main storyline instead of prioritizing meaningful character development and fostering deeper connections with both new and returning characters. One example of that is the relationship between Peter and MJ, a noticeable shift which was once sweet and adorable dynamic between Mary Jane and Peter, a cornerstone of the first game's emotional core, feels markedly awkward and diminished in Marvel Spider-Man 2. While acknowledging that all relationships inevitably navigate periods of difficulty, the portrayal here doesn't quite resonate with the same authenticity or emotional depth. This disconnect is further compounded by the aforementioned inconsistencies in character facial animations, with Peter and MJ being particularly affected, ultimately detracting from the believability of their interactions. Circling back to my earlier point about the lack of genuine heart, it's truly the grand, blockbuster-esque set pieces that lends this campaign any sense of compelling impressiveness. However, if you were to strip away those spectacular moments, the narrative simply wouldn't have a leg to stand on. Following that plateau, the story does indeed regain momentum, and that resurgence is undeniably fueled by Peter's acquisition of the symbiote. This period stands out as another peak in the game, without a doubt. Witnessing Peter grappling with the symbiote suit's negative influence, intertwined with the evolving dynamics of his relationships with Harry, Mary Jane, and Miles, is genuinely compelling and captivating. And just seeing it from Miles and MJ's perspective at times truly adds a lot of depth to this story. However, it takes a considerable amount of time for the narrative to reach this captivating stage, and regrettably, it doesn't sustain that level of engagement for long enough.
Let's go, man, before he gets too far.
No. He's mine.
You sure? He's got big teeth.
So do I.
Once Peter loses the symbiote powers, thanks to Miles' intervention, the story descends into a real slog. As I mentioned previously, while the game masterfully portrayed Peter's struggle with the symbiote's influence, the Venom portion of the story is, in my opinion, a significant low point. Considering Venom's iconic status in the Spider-Man mythos, his generic and uninspired motivations feel utterly jarring compared to his established origins. Furthermore, Harry's descent into Venom feels incredibly rushed, especially given its prominence in the game's marketing. While Harry's illness and Peter and Miles' dedication to helping him were central themes, the abrupt shift to the monstrous Venom often overshadowed the underlying personal tragedy.
This That's where we become brothers.
The emotional weight of Harry's fate, though present, could have resonated far more deeply with a more measured and less accelerated portrayal of his transformation.
Harry. We are not Harry. We are.
It's also frustratingly reminiscent of their approach in the first Spider-Man game. Remember how the prison break, coupled with Silver Sable turning the city into anarchy, tanked the pacing? They have essentially repeated that here, and it's so detrimental that I completely lost interest in the final third of the story. Despite these significant shortcomings, I must admit that I'm still genuinely excited for the third game. They have laid the groundwork so comprehensively that it has the potential to be something truly special. Even with my disappointment in this game, I'm still eagerly looking forward to seeing what they do next.
What are you writing?
The final chapter.
Before we move on, I want to address 4 particularly significant aspects of this story that I actually liked. Firstly, other villains such as the Lizard and Kraven were significantly more compelling in this game. Kraven in particular was a standout. His voice acting, like everybody else, was superb, and he commanded every scene he appeared in. He possessed a unique aura and motivation that made him a captivating presence, a veritable highlight in what was otherwise a rather uneven experience.
I see a man. I sense a beast.
Secondly, I genuinely appreciated Miles' narrative arc in this game. Even though he often occupied a secondary role, his deep love for his family and his continued journey in processing his father's death, building upon the foundation laid in his standalone title, were very well executed. Thirdly, the rekindled relationship between Harry and Peter, though tragically short-lived, was surprisingly impactful. Despite my tempered expectations after the trailers, I genuinely grew to care about Harry's character during their interactions. That emotional resonance was something I honestly wasn't anticipating.
Harry! Pete?
Finally, let's discuss the MJ missions. Unlike many who dislike them, my issue isn't with the concept itself. Instead, they often feel shoehorned in and lack inspiration. I say this because, surprisingly, my favorite main quest in the entire game involved playing solely as Mary Jane. I'm talking about the mission you are seeing on screen right now. Sneaking through the Queen's neighborhoods while following Peter, culminating in that intense escape sequence in the garage, was absolutely phenomenal. It worked so well because the stakes felt incredibly high. However, this stands as an isolated example. For the most part, these slow-paced, walking simulator-type sections that are so impactful in other third-person action adventures just feel rather uninspired here. To conclude, Marvel Spider-Man 2, while boasting spectacular set pieces and blockbuster moments, ultimately falters in its narrative execution. The disjointed pacing, the shoehorning of extraneous elements, and the underdevelopment of key relationships detract from the overall experience. The lackluster portrayal of Venom, coupled with a rushed and unsatisfying resolution to Harry's arc, further diminishes the story's impact. While the game undeniably lays the groundwork for an intriguing sequel, its failure to fully capitalize on its narrative potential leaves a lingering sense of disappointment.
That wasn't me.
In my humble opinion, the most significant improvement in Marvel Spider-Man 2 lies in its vastly expanded array of side quests and collectibles, especially when contrasted with the scope offered in the 2018 installment. I'd like to delve into the specific side quests that particularly resonated with me. To start, the Flame side quest line, which sees Peter Parker reuniting with his old ally Yuri Watanabe, now operating as the Rat, stands out as a particularly compelling narrative thread. This quest line delves into intricate themes of moral ambiguity and the slippery slope of vigilantism. Just when the narrative seems to be meandering without a clear trajectory, it culminates in a truly startling and impactful reveal, the ominous presence of Cletus Cassidy, the harbinger of carnage.
It shall bring truth, judgment, and carnage.
Following that, the side quest line that commences with Peter lending a hand to an eager photographer from the Daily Bugle quickly became a personal favorite of mine. Its brilliance lies in its ingenious narrative device, transporting the player into a wonderfully realized flashback. This sequence allows you to traverse a past iteration of New York City, retracing Peter's steps to pivotal early encounters with the legendary and perpetually bombastic J. Jonah Jameson.
Ready, set, jump! Go, Spidey! See you next time!
Another short one that I really like is Peter helping his old friend, Howard. Remember, the pigeon guy? This was a heartfelt and touching story that you just can't miss out on. Focusing on Miles' side questline, the Brooklyn Vision's activities stand out as poignant examples of his dedication to his local community. By actively engaging with the students of Brooklyn Vision's Academy, assisting them with a diverse range of personal and academic challenges, and enthusiastically participating in school events, these quests effectively underscore Miles' integral role within the Academy and the broader neighborhood. Furthermore, the Cultural Museum missions provide a compelling narrative arc where Miles takes on the crucial responsibility of thwarting robbery attempts at the Brooklyn Cultural Museum. These missions not only lead to dynamic encounters with criminal elements, but also culminate in a vibrant celebration of the rich tapestry of cultural heritage that the museum represents. Three seemingly smaller additions I want to touch on as well. Marco's memories, Prowler stashes, and the Spiderbots deserve particular mention. Although presented in the guise of collectibles, these elements transcend mere acquisition, ultimately providing a surprisingly substantial and enriching expansion of the game's established lore. While the advancements in side content are commendable, Marvel Spider-Man 2 isn't without its less inspired elements. Activities such as the repetitive base assaults and randomly generated crimes regrettably fall into this category. Their execution often feels perfunctory, to the point where the primary motivation for engaging with them becomes the pursuit of the Platinum Trophy and the acquisition of the various suits. Were it not for these extrinsic rewards, I would have opted to bypass them entirely. On a brighter note, the sheer variety and customization options available for the suits are truly impressive, with the diverse color palettes adding a significant layer of personalization. Personally, I find Miles Morales' collection of suits to be particularly appealing, appreciating their distinct, youthful energy and stylistic flair in comparison to Peter Parker's more established aesthetic. Alright, let's close the curtains on Marvel Spider-Man 2. The central aim of this video was to highlight the stark emotional dichotomy I experienced with this game time and time again. It's quite the paradox, isn't it? On one hand, the sheer joy and fluidity of the swinging mechanics are absolutely captivating, a true testament to Insomniac's mastery of movement. Coupled with the impressive technical underpinnings of the game, it showcases a level of polish that's truly commendable. Yet, this brilliance is starkly contrasted by a combat system that for me simply doesn't resonate, and character designs that leave something to be desired. And perhaps the most significant disappointment of all was the narrative, especially given my high expectations for this being my most anticipated title of 2023. It's a real shame when a game with such incredible highs also experiences such noticeable lows, ultimately resulting in what feels like a rather mediocre to good overall experience. Despite these frustrations, I have to admit, the siren call of web-slinging through a beautifully realized New York City and the creative outlet of photo mode are still incredibly appealing. And with that thought, I'm eager to wrap up this editing session and immerse myself in that very experience. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to this channel. I'm trying really hard to get to 1000 subscribers, and your support will help me a lot in my hustle. Do check out my other videos, they're pretty good, I swear. That's it from me today. Rakzplayz, signing off.
I don't know about this. Relax and be a good proton.
Huh?
Stay positive.